When the intern ripped the millionaire's pants at 3 a.m. You won't believe what happened next. The clock ticked ominously in the darkened office. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting an eerie glow over the rows of empty desks. Tension hung in the air like a storm cloud, electric and charged. That's when Charlie, the unwitting intern, found himself face to face with the infamous billionaire, Ray Stanton, whose notorious arrogance was only matched by his couture wardrobe. This wasn't just any night, it was 3 in the morning. Most of the world was asleep, but not them. The building was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made your skin crawl. With nervous hands, Charlie gathered the documents scattered across the long conference table. The papers rustled softly, as if whispering secrets of the high-stakes meetings that often happened after hours. He could feel his heart thumping louder with every step as he approached Ray, who leaned back in his designer chair, a smirk on his face that screamed mischief. Suddenly, a grotesque ripping sound echoed through the hall. The tension shattered like glass. Charlie's eyes widened. Confusion morphed into sheer panic. Did he just tear the hem of Ray's tailored trousers? The millionaire's face flushed red, unraveling a mixture of disbelief and fury. What did you just do? He bellowed, his voice echoing off the walls. The air thickened with awkwardness. Was it more fear or exhilaration? Charlie's throat felt tight. The quiet office suddenly buzzed with the unseen energy of a million possibilities. Everyone nearby held their breath. Their eyes darted between Ray's contorted expression and Charlie's white-knuckled grip on the table. It felt like a live-action drama teetering on the edge of chaos. A handful of employees watching from their desks couldn't believe what they were witnessing. Did he really just rip his pants? One murmured, disbelief etched on their face. Charlie could barely swallow. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when Ray was about to explode, something unexpected happened. A glimmer of humor flickered in his eyes. The tightness in Charlie's chest eased slightly. Well, if I needed a reason to buy new pants, he started, but there was a dangerous edge to his laughter. Deep down, Charlie prayed this wasn't the last nail in his career coffin. What would happen next? Would the billionaire throw a fit, or would he surprise everyone? If this was any indication, the night was far from over. In the shadows, an unexpected figure lingered, watching intently. What were they plotting? As Charlie stood frozen, it hit him he was in the middle of something far bigger than a wardrobe malfunction. The stakes had just skyrocketed. And he had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. The revelation felt like a punch to the gut, leaving him gasping for breath. What could possibly happen next? Ray's laughter echoed through the office, a sound both light and loaded with menace. The grin on his face promised nothing good. Charlie's mind raced, trying to piece together the whirlwind of confusion. Was this all just a twisted game? He could feel the eyes of the other employees on him, the tension thick as a fog, and suddenly everything felt under a microscope. He shifted awkwardly, half expecting Ray to unleash hell right there, yet the billionaire only leaned forward, an amused spark igniting an unsettling flicker in his eyes. Do you realize what you've done, Charlie? Ray's tone shifted from joking to serious. You've just made my night. Charlie blinked, uncertainty gripping him. The laughter, was it genuine or laced with something darker? Regardless of intent, Charlie felt like he had stepped into a trap. Every fiber of his being screamed at him to apologize and retreat into the shadows, but instead, he stood firm. I'm really sorry, Mr. Stanton. It was an accident. A funny accident, Ray said, his smirk returning. The kind that's going to make waves. He gestured to the scattered papers, then wiped a hand through his tousled hair. You aren't going to just stand there frozen, are you? Remove those pants and let us see what happens. Ignoring the incredulous gasps from the audience, Charlie's heart raced as he stammered, What do you mean? You can't be serious. Ray chuckled, the sound rolling out in waves that felt more threatening than humorous. Why not? I'm the billionaire here. I can do anything I want. Sweat prickled at the back of Charlie's neck. The shadows moved like living creatures, inching closer, suffocating him in a world where comfort had been ripped apart like those pants. He had to do something. In a split second, inspiration struck. Okay, but how about we make a deal? If I can get you a new pair in under an hour, you let me keep my job. There was a split second of silence, tension hanging in the air like a storm before Ray threw his head back, laughing uproariously. I like your spirit, kid. But how do you plan to pull that off? You're in the office with me at 3 a.m. with no place to go. Charlie's mind raced. The nearby luxury mall wouldn't open for hours, much less provide a suit of pants. But there was a little boutique a few blocks away that was known for after-hours sales. If he could just get there fast enough. Okay, I'll be right back, he declared, trying to sound confident, his heart pounding like a drum. He turned on his heel, dashing toward the elevator as whispers erupted behind him. He's really going to do it? What a fool, they murmured, a mix of disbelief and admiration. As the elevator doors slid open, Charlie stepped inside, his mind a whirl of desperation and urgency. The buttons shimmered as he slapped his finger against the ground button, casting a desperate prayer toward the fate that awaited. He had no idea what he was getting into. Seconds felt like hours as he waited. Just as the doors opened, a figure stepped into the elevator, none other than the shadowy observer from moments before. There was a glint in their eyes that sent a shiver down Charlie's spine. Everything he thought he knew about the night spiraled. What were they doing there? Seems like you have your hands full, intern, they said, their voice cold. You're about to get a whole lot more than you bargained for. Charlie froze, dread pooling in the pit of his stomach. He had wanted a simple night in the office, now it seemed he was racing into a labyrinth of secrets he couldn't comprehend. Would he regret this? The doors slid apart, and new possibilities awaited. What kind of deal was unfolding before him? And more importantly, could he survive the night? Charlie stepped out of the elevator, his heart racing, echoing wildly in his chest. The dim lights of the lobby flickered as he glanced back at the mysterious figure, noticing their persistent gaze wicked with intrigue. The familiar tension twinged in the air, the kind that screamed of danger laced with opportunity. He had to move fast. Wait! The shadowy observer called out, their voice slicing through his thoughts like a knife. He hesitated, muscles taut, fear battling curiosity. We both know this isn't just about pants, is it? They stepped closer, a predatory grace in their movements. Ray isn't the only one who enjoys the games that unfold in these walls. Charlie swallowed hard. What do you know? He never wanted to become part of a twisted drama revolving around a millionaire's pride. I just need to get those pants, he said, forcing himself to sound unbothered. Ah, but there's a lot at stake tonight, Charlie, they replied, a slight smirk playing at the corners of their mouth. You have allies, hidden enemies, and secrets that go deeper than this office. A chill prickled his skin. This wasn't just about his job anymore. It felt like a crossroad, a decision that could lead him down a dark path. I want nothing to do with it, he retorted, his voice barely masking the tremor. Too late for that, they replied, stepping back into the shadows as Charlie turned on his heel and bolted toward the exit. The night enveloped him like a thick fog, and he sprinted down the quiet street, the boutique shining faintly in the distance, a beacon amidst uncertainty. His mind raced with thoughts. Could he trust anyone? Or was everyone in the office part of some far more sinister play? He arrived at the boutique. Thankfully, the door was ajar, and he slipped inside, breathless. The atmosphere inside was alive with an electric pulse, as if the building itself was holding its breath. "Can I help you?" The shopkeeper's eyes were sharp, scanning him suspiciously. "Quick! I need pants in emergency," Charlie blurted, desperation spilling from his lips. He scanned the racks as she shrugged and moved toward the back. His thorough knowledge of office attire faded into the background as he wasted precious seconds that he felt trapped a ticking clock, stolen moments, all spiraling when he heard a familiar laugh erupt from outside. That rich, deep sound was unmistakably Ray's, accompanied by blurry figures shuffling closer through the glass. Panic gripped his throat. "Charlie!" Ray's voice rang through the air, clear and taunting, sending a shockwave of fear through him. "What kind of game are you playing? You think you can just run off like that?" Charlie turned back, nearly knocking over a display. "I'm not playing forget about the pants." The shopkeeper snapped as she pushed a pair toward him. "If he's coming, you need to get out now." The urgency in her words snapped him back to reality. He grabbed the pants and bolted for the back exit, pushing through as footsteps thundered outside. The cold night air hit him like a wave, and he sprinted, heart pounding. But he felt them behind him, Ray's laughter trailing, always too close for comfort. He veered down an alley, dodging shadows that danced under the flickering streetlights. The sound of footsteps mingled with the heavy beat of his heart, a contest he desperately needed to win. This was no longer a harmless game about trousers. It had morphed into something threatening, stakes he couldn't fathom. "Charlie!" Ray's shout echoed with excitement. "You can't escape what you're a part of now." Panic surged as he glanced back one last time, darkness and light tangled in a dance of chaos. What choices lured him deeper into this web? He needed to find an answer before they caught up. But then a hollow laugh broke the tension. "You're in over your head, my friend, but maybe that's exactly where you need to be." A chill ran down his spine. Little did he know, the real twists were just beginning. What else waited for him in the night? And who could he trust when even the shadows seemed to conspire? Charlie darted into the alley, adrenaline pumping, aware that every second mattered. The night air wrapped around him like a cold embrace, mingling with the sounds of his own ragged breaths. Ray's laughter followed, echoing off the brick walls, a mocking reminder of the danger that loomed. He needed a place to hide, to gather his thoughts, but panic clouded his mind. The alley twisted and turned, narrowing as he pushed deeper into its shadows. His heart raced with every footfall, the alley swallowing his cries for help. Sweat poured down his back, his hands trembled as he clutched the pants, now feeling like a curse rather than a lifeline. "Don't think you can outsmart me, Charlie." Ray's voice still rang out, taunting and relentless. "This game is just heating up, and you're the main course." With each taunt, fear festered in Charlie's gut, but it was mixed with a dawning realization Ray wasn't just playing for fun. The stakes were higher than he imagined, entangled in a web of secrets that danced in and out of the flickering light above. Ahead, a door loomed, slightly ajar with the faintest glint of light spilling out. Charlie pushed it open, slipping inside as quietly as he could. He held his breath, listening for footsteps, but all that filled his ears were his thudding heart and the creaking of old wood beneath his feet. The room smelled musty, mingled with something metallic. Charlie peered around, old files, scattered papers, a desk piled high with what looked like years of neglect. He could hear faint voices through the thin walls, the murmuring of conversations, but they felt worlds away from the chaos he'd left outside. "Just be smart, Charlie," he whispered to himself, trying to steady his racing thoughts. "Find answers, then figure out how to escape." As he rifled through some papers on the desk, a name caught his eye: Peter Hawthorne. The founder of the company. The man Ray idolized. Why were his documents stashed away here? The names on the pages felt like puzzle pieces, disconnected and frustratingly vague. A sudden crash outside made him jump, sending a jolt through his body. The voices were louder now, merging into a chaotic chorus. He can't be far. He was just here. Fear cascaded through him, and he ducked behind the desk, hoping Ray and his henchman wouldn't think to look there. His heart thudded in his ears as footsteps thundered closer. "Search everywhere," Ray commanded, voice icy with frustration. "I want him found." Charlie's mind raced. Ray was no mere office bully. He was the puppeteer, pulling strings that connected to darkness, money, and secrecy. This was more than just a game. This was survival. The door swung open, revealing a figure silhouetted against the hallway light. It was a man, but he wasn't alone. Two others flanked him, their grim expressions heavy with intent. "Charlie!" one of them shouted, "We know you're in here." A new wave of panic set in, but then something snapped inside Charlie. He could either cower in fear or take a chance. He chose the latter. He lunged forward, bolting for the back exit of the room, heart hammering, believing fervently that he could outrun them. Behind him, they shouted in confusion, not expecting this burst of defiance, but when he reached the door and swung it open, he stumbled into chaos. A narrow, poorly lit corridor stretched before him, flickering lights illuminating the grime on the walls. He dashed forward, propelled by desperation. "Don't let him escape." Ray's voice echoed, now growing distant but still close enough to instill dread. Charlie glanced back only once. Shadows loomed close, but he kept moving, desperate to put distance between him and whatever fate Ray had in mind. A set of stairs appeared in front of him, spiraling down. He hesitated, breathless and torn. Would the descent lead him to safety or deeper into a trap? The choice burned in his chest. One way might be freedom, the other, a door slamming shut on his life as he knew it. Which path should he choose? With the shadows encroaching, Charlie had to act fast. His decision would change everything. Would he plunge into the darkness below? Or was it time to confront Ray? The weight of the decision crashed over Charlie. He could feel the heat of fear creeping up his throat. He didn't have time to think, and that sparked clarity. He bolted down the stairs, plunging into the darkness as the echoes of his desperation bounced off the walls. The concrete underfoot felt icy and clammy, and he fought to maintain his footing, pushing himself harder with each step. Behind him, footsteps pounded the ground. Ray's crew was relentless. As he descended, Charlie's mind raced. A labyrinth of choices loomed ahead, each tighter than the last. The darkness might hide him from Ray, but could it also swallow him whole? With a deep breath, he focused. "No more running," he whispered, but the sound barely escaped his lips. The stairs twisted down, thumping with more energy than he felt in his legs. He reached the bottom, where a dank corridor stretched on, barely illuminated by flickering bulbs above. Filthy walls seemed to close in, trapping him in despair. Then he heard it. The low hum of machinery, the grinding sounds of some engine working tirelessly in the distance. It tugged at his instincts. Curiosity? Or dread? He had no choice now. He needed answers. Charlie pressed forward, ignoring the sting of cold air biting at his skin. The corridor sloped downward more steeply, curving in a way that felt unnatural. Shadows stretched along the walls like long fingers reaching out to him. He spotted a door at the end of the hallway. It shimmered slightly, almost inviting him in, but he knew better. No invitation came without a price, especially from someone like Ray. Taking a cautious step, he moved toward it, heart pounding harder than he thought possible. Every few steps, he flanked against the wall, peering behind him in paranoia. "Charlie, are you finally going to face what you've done?" Ray's voice echoed in his mind, laced with venomous mirth. Gritting his teeth, Charlie pushed the door. It creaked open to reveal a dimly lit room filled with the pulse of machinery. Monitors flickered with numbers and images that shifted too quickly for him to grasp. Tables filled with blueprints, documents scattered across the surface, and there it was, a computer, blinking impatiently. This was a command center of some sort, hidden away from prying eyes. He hesitated, then lunged forward. If this place was a sanctuary or a trap, he had to dive into it. He clicked on the keyboard, trying to make sense of what was displayed. Lines of code swirled before him, but some names stood out, people he knew, people Ray had consumed like mere pawns in a game of chess. Just then, his phone buzzed violently in his pocket. The sound was startling, slicing through the tense atmosphere like a knife. Charlie fumbled, pulling it from his pocket. One message awaited him. It was from an unknown number. "I know where you are. They're coming for you. Trust no one." A chill raced down his spine, and every thought of safety shattered. He looked around. The door he entered through felt like a thin sheet of glass now. "What do I do?" he thought frantically. Trust in a stranger? Or take his chances against Ray outside? Just then, a loud bang echoed from the entrance, knocking loose a few dust particles. Panic surged through him as he raced to the back of the room, looking for another way out. Suddenly, a watchful figure emerged, Ray's silhouette framed in the doorway. "Charlie!" Ray called out, his voice a sinister melody. "You can't hide from me." With a wild heart, Charlie dashed toward a narrow window, the night sky beckoning like a lover lost to time. Would he leap into darkness, or confrontation? The room felt like it was closing in. Would he take the plunge? Or face Ray's wrath head-on? One choice remained: dare to dive or face the monster standing right before him. Charlie's breath hitched as he glanced between Ray and the glimmering window. The prospect of diving headfirst into the unknown tugged at his instincts. He could hear Ray's taunting laughter swirling through the air like smoke, wrapping around him. Panic surged. "Stop!" Ray barked, a commanding presence that held the room captive. Charlie's feet felt rooted to the ground, but he wrestled against the pull. This was no time for weakness. The window loomed like a portal to freedom or devastation, leaving his heart behind. Charlie lunged toward the window, his pulse roaring in his ears like thunder. Adrenaline coursed through him, making every movement stark and visceral. As his hands brushed against the cold frame, the sound of heavy boots thundered closer. "Run, coward!" Ray's voice dripped with venom. Charlie flung the window open with a grunt, its hinges squealing in protest. The cool night air rushed in, invigorating yet terrifying. He didn't look back. His instincts screamed at him to jump. The ground below dropped away slightly, a perilous distance but perhaps less perilous than staying. He threw himself through the opening, the sensation of falling mingling with hope. But he hadn't anticipated the sharp sting of gravel beneath him. Charlie hit the ground hard, the breath knocked out of him. Pain radiated through his body, but he pushed himself up almost immediately. Ignoring the rawness of his palms, he scrambled to his feet and dashed into the dense cover of the surrounding trees. "Charlie!" Ray's voice echoed after him, threading fear and anger into the night as thick as the shadows. "You can't escape." Heart racing, Charlie ducked low, weaving through branches and stepping over roots. The darkness surrounded him, but familiarity with the woods served as his ally. This was his childhood playground. The trees whispered memories that grounded him amidst chaos. Then, a flash of light snapped him back to the present. Headlights. A car. The beam sliced through the night, illuminating the landscape ahead. Charlie ducked behind a massive oak, peering out cautiously. The vehicle cruised slowly, a dark SUV that rolled silently along the dirt road. "Get out, Charlie!" Ray shouted, now close enough for Charlie to hear his labored breath. There's nowhere to hide. Desperation clawed at Charlie. The chance of getting picked up by strangers loomed. His heart pounded harder, caught between the wish for rescue and the fear of betrayal. Who were these people? Friends or foes? Before he could decide, the SUV halted. Two figures hopped out, dressed in black. They were scanning the woods, and then, one pointed directly toward him. Charlie inhaled sharply, panic mixing with determination. The entire valley felt like it held its breath. Siren. One of them yelled, urging the other to move. Charlie's instincts kicked in. He dashed toward a thicket, heart racing like a runaway train. He pressed against the ground, feeling every heartbeat pummeling in his ears. Just as he thought he might make it past them, the other figure shouted, "We have to split up." A dark laughter echoed, a chilling sound that froze him in place. It was Ray, taunting him, weaving a web around the very air he breathed. "Run all you want, Charlie. We'll find you. You'll always be ours." The shadows enveloped him, a protective shroud, but the doubts clawed at him viciously. Could they really capture him? A rush of resolve surged through Charlie. He had to find a way to turn the tables, but then, movement from the trees, a glimmer of hope, or another trap. With a final look back, determination etched on his face, Charlie dove deeper into the woods. The sound of footsteps behind him chased away his last shred of calm. Which way now? Forward into the unknown, or backward facing his fate? Would he find refuge in the depths of the forest, or would the hunt end tonight? The tension hung thick in the air as Charlie made his next move. Branches slapped against Charlie's face as he sprinted, the adrenaline blazing through his veins. He could hear the whispers of the wind twining with his frantic thoughts. "Stay focused, Charlie. Just keep moving." His breaths came in sharp gasps, puncturing through the silence as he crossed through the underbrush, the moonlight filtering down through the leaves above. The world began to blur, the shadows shifting and morphing as fear settled in. The footsteps behind him grew closer, echoed by Ray's menacing voice reverberating through the trees like a predator stalking its prey. "Do you really think you can hide?" Ray called out. "The moment you least expect it, I'll be right there. Just like back then." Charlie's stomach twisted at the memory. Ray had always been the one pulling the strings. But this time, Charlie was not going to be the marionette. He picked up speed, desperate to escape the mental chains that held him back, each step open to possibility. Rounding a gnarled tree, he spotted a small creek glimmering in the moonlight ahead. Could he use it to shield his scent? Heart racing, he changed direction, dove into the cool water, and pressed himself against the muddy bank. The icy chill seeped into his bones, but it grounded his spinning mind. Struggling to stay quiet, he focused on the sounds around him. The water gurgled softly, blending with the rustling leaves. He held his breath when he heard their voices edging closer. "Where is he?" One of the SUV figures shouted, unmistakable panic tinged with urgency. "Split up," Ray barked. "We need to cover more ground." "I'll take the left." Charlie felt bile rise in his throat. He had to move, had to think fast. He silently scrambled out of the water, mud caking on his shoes. The elements of the night were his allies now. Glancing back to see if anybody was watching, he took off toward the opposite direction, angling back toward where he knew the trail led deeper into the woods. The darkness felt less foreboding than Ray's taunting laughter. How could he be so cruel? As he navigated through the trees, he spotted a rusted old shed just a few yards ahead, half hidden beneath a curtain of overgrown weeds. It looked abandoned and forgotten, but his heart leaped at the thought that maybe, just maybe, it could provide some cover. He hurried inside and let out a shaky exhale, damp air barely relieving the tightness in his chest. The floorboards creaked beneath his weight as he moved deeper. Dust swirled around like ghosts caught in a silver haze. Suddenly, the shriek of a door echoed through the trees. He froze, every nerve on high alert. "Charlie! Where are you?" Ray's voice boomed, sending shivers straight down Charlie's spine. "This game is stupid. Just come out." A sudden flash from outside caught his attention. Someone was shining a flashlight real close. Charlie pressed himself against the wall, his body stiffening. He could hear the crunch of leaves beneath heavy boots. This was it. If they found him, if they saw him and hear the darkness he clung to would be used against him. Then, the beam illuminated the old wooden wall. He had to act. Suddenly, a window caught his attention, a tiny opening just big enough to slip through. Taking a risk, he climbed toward it, drawing in a deep breath. But just as he was about to make his escape, the beam of the flashlight swept inside, illuminating his hiding spot. "Hey! I see you!" Adrenaline sped up his heartbeat as he launched himself through the window, branches snagging at his clothes. The moment of freedom, however, was shattered by the sound of laughter, a chaos of it, echoing through the trees, growing louder and more sinister. "Gotcha now, Charlie." With a desperate sprint, a question consumed him: could he truly escape his past, or was it closing in like a noose? He dashed into the night, unsure if freedom lay ahead or if he was running straight into the jaws of danger. The tension bubbled, leaving a heavy uncertainty hanging in the air as he disappeared into the forest, heart pounding and thoughts racing. What would he find on the other side of his frantic flight? The branches whizzed past Charlie, each swing a reminder of the danger lurking just behind him. Heart thudding in rhythm with his frantic footsteps, he pushed further into the wild, his thoughts a turbulent storm. Nobody could know what happened in the shed. Nobody could know the truth. "Charlie." Ray's voice pierced the air, sharp as a knife. "You can't run forever." The laughter bore down on him, and Charlie clutched his chest, feeling the weight of memories clawing their way to the surface. He had been so close to breaking free from all of it until now. How could he outrun someone who already knew his fears? He stumbled into a clearing, and for a brief moment, the world around him felt still. Moonlight bathed the terrain, revealing a gnarled, twisted tree at the center. He instantly recognized it from childhood tales, a sacred spot or a place of nightmares depending on one's perspective. He took a moment to catch his breath, but time was a luxury he couldn't afford. The rustle of leaves heralded the approach of his pursuers, and he had to move. Without thinking, Charlie darted for the tree, desperate to seek refuge in its dense trunk. As he crouched behind it, he ran a hand along the bark, feeling the rough texture under his fingertips. Memories flooded back, laughter, joy, and then fear. Just then, the whispers grew nearer. He could hear their shuffling steps. His heart raced, pounding like a war drum, flesh creeping with the prickles of dread. With each heartbeat, "You're closer to doom, Charlie." Ray's voice dripped with malice, and Charlie bit down on his lip to silence a whimper that he had to get out of here. He couldn't go back, not after everything. Rushing back into the thicket, he barely noticed the thickening fog that curled around him like a shroud. It slowed his movements, but it also cloaked him. He pressed forward, the world blurring. Suddenly, he crashed through a thicket and stumbled into an abandoned campsite. A flickering ghost of a fire still lay among charred logs, the remnants of laughter long gone. A twinge of sorrow shot through him. Nobody should face this kind of desperation alone. "Charlie." The voice grew closer, threatening to drown out the thoughts racing through his mind. He needed to think. Glancing around, he spotted an old backpack slumped against one of the tents. His pulse racing, he took a chance and slipped over. With trembling hands, he unzipped it and rifled through, hoping for anything that might help. 3 items caught his attention: the flashlight, the pocket knife, and a flimsy map. Compiling what he had, he tucked the map into his pocket, gripping the knife tightly. There was movement behind him, a snap of a twig. "Charlie, you can't hide." Ray's voice was creeping ever closer, taking the sound of hope with it. Charlie's breath hitched as he scrambled toward the tree line, his heart a jackhammer in his chest. The fog thickened, and shadows twisted around him, chilling him to the bone. As he dashed deeper into the woods, the map pressed against his thigh, offering just a semblance of direction. But where was he headed? Away or further into the jaws of the beast? Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. Ahead, a flickering light danced through the trees. Could it be a way out or a trap waiting to ensnare him? His eyes glued to the glow, a question rose within him: would seizing this flicker of hope lead him to safety, or was it merely a lure meant to drag him back into his darkest fears? Clenching the knife, he took a breath. There was no time for doubt. He had to decide: move toward the light or continue fleeing into the shadows. With a grit of determination, he pushed forward, unaware that the further he advanced, the more perilous his path truly became. And just as he neared the source of the glow, he heard it, a low growl emanating from the trees behind him, followed by a voice that made his blood run cold. "You thought you could escape, didn't you?" As the growl rumbled through the darkness, Charlie froze, instinct screaming at him to turn back. The light flickered ahead, inviting yet ominous, and he had to make a choice before the predator behind him closed in. Charlie. Ray's laughter cut through the night like glass, high-pitched and haunting. Come on out. The fun is just beginning. Charlie inhaled sharply, his chest tight. The knife felt like a lifebuoy in a storm, a flimsy promise of self-defense. He hesitated, the glow ahead wavering as if taunting him. Should he run toward that light or back into the shadows? Taking a shaky, silent step toward the light, he peered through the underbrush. It was a cabin. Old and decrepit, its windows cracked, but there was definitely a glow emanating from within. A flickering flame, a beacon of solace. Where are you, Charlie? Ray called again, his voice then shifting, dripping with something darker. We just want to play. Charlie felt a wave of nausea wash over him. That was the game, wasn't it? To become prey. He clenched the knife tighter, heart racing, and bolted toward the cabin. Shadows whipped past him, and branches clawed at his skin. But the cabin, it promised safety, or was it just another snare laid out for him? As he reached the weathered door, a sudden noise erupted behind him, branches splitting like thunder. Fear surged through him. If Ray was laughing, then his friends were close. He swung the door open, slamming it shut just as he heard a footstep behind him. The door cracked, a short gasp escaping him as he locked it tight. Heart hammering, he pressed his ear against the wood, listening intently. Where are you hiding? Ray's tone twisted into a mock sing-song, as if egging him on, reveling in the game. Inside, Charlie's gaze traveled around the musty room bare, save for a rickety table and an old kerosene lamp sputtering in the corner. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the weak flame, and for a moment, he found comfort in its flicker, but then, a chill swept over him. The windows, cracked and gaping, offered no true protection. If Ray and his friends discovered this place, it would only be a matter of time. Pushing his back to the wall, Charlie quickly searched for something, anything, to defend himself with. As he scanned the room, his eyes landed on a fireplace tool rusty and heavy. He picked it up, its weight reassuring in his hands. A loud bang echoed outside. Charlie flinched. The door rattled as if someone was testing its strength. Charlie! Ray shouted, now sounding impatient. Do you really think you can hide from us? It hit him like a stone. They loved this. The chase, the thrill of uncertainty. Ray knew exactly how to push his buttons. Then he remembered the map in his pocket. Glancing down, he realized he had no idea where it would lead him. But if it held any secrets about this place, maybe he could escape. He pulled it out, his fingers shaking as he unfolded the brittle paper. Just then, a loud crash echoed outside, and a dark shape could be seen through the cracked window. A figure was moving outside, stalking. Let the games begin, Charlie. Ray shouted again, followed by a sonorous laugh that dripped with malice. Charlie narrowed his gaze, adrenaline coursing through him. The glow of the kerosene lamp illuminated a small stack of wood logs near the fireplace. A plan began to form. With the map in one hand and the heavy tool in the other, he moved to the back of the cabin. It was now or never, the light could mean salvation or doom. As he prepared for what lay ahead, the door shook violently, causing the old cabin to creak ominously. Would he emerge epically victorious, or would Ray's wicked game be the end of him? With a surge of determination, he flung the door open and stepped out into the approaching darkness, ready to face whatever awaited him. Charlie! Ray's voice rang out triumphantly, echoing through the woods like a predator's call. Welcome back to the hunt. What awaited him in the fog beyond, a chance for freedom or a fate worse than he could imagine? The moon loomed above, casting a silver sheen over the clearing as the night unfolded into an orchestral crescendo of chaos and desperation. Charlie stood at the threshold between shadow and light, heart pounding, breathing uneven. The crack of twigs and the low growl of anticipation echoed in the stillness, and he wavered for a moment, weighing his choices. Are you ready to play? Ray's voice sliced through the darkness, dripping with mockery. There was urgency behind every syllable, each word a binding thread in a web festooned with darkness, but Charlie felt something shift within him. Fear and adrenaline melted into resolve. There was no backing down. With his hand curled tightly around the fireplace tool, he charged out of the cabin, muscles honed and primed for the unexpected, a warrior of the night. "I'm done running, Ray." His words hung in the air like a challenge, vibrant against the night's heavy silence. Ray's laughter crescendoed, filled with twisted amusement. "You think you matter? You're nothing more than a pawn in a game you can't comprehend." But Charlie wasn't he the same trapped intern who stumbled into this mess? He clenched the tool like a lifeline. "Let us see who really controls the board." The forest enveloped him in a shroud of darkness, the chaotic harmony of moving branches and whispering leaves guiding him forward. He dodged low-hanging branches as he darted left, away from Ray's laughter that dripped lethargy into the night. Adrenaline surged through his veins with every step. The weight of his past ceased to matter. This was about survival now. An idea sparked a desperate gamble. He began to weave through the trees, letting the thicket swallow him just enough to hide his movements, all while quickly discarding the map in favor of the lay of the land, the childhood memories of the woods guiding him through the underbrush. "Where are you?" Ray's voice resonated, echoing like thunder. "You can't escape me. I'll find you." Heart racing, Charlie spotted a dense cluster of trees nearby. Without pausing, he dove into the cover of their proud branches, sweat trickling down his brow. The night air felt electric, charged with the possibility of freedom or betrayal. A sudden whirr of footsteps echoed beyond the trees, and Charlie held his breath. They were closing in. The brush rustled violently as Ray's men stumbled through the forest, desperation vaulting their voices as urgency spiraled. "Split up. He has to be nearby." With his breath hitching, Charlie carved his way back through the thicket, redirecting from Ray's crew as they fanned out, still oblivious to his shifting presence. He had to draw them away, throw them off his trail. Charles felt a pang of irony. Wasn't this the role Ray had played with him all along? Now he wielded the puppet strings of his own destiny. The shadows grew thicker around him, a cloak of refuge infused with determination. Unchained from the sting of helplessness, Charlie let instinct guide him deeper into the woods. The flicker of lights from earlier drew close, whispers of comfort lingering in the stream of his mind, a sanctuary awaiting him. Then, just as he needed it most, a sliver of moon illuminated a break in the trees. There lay a small, rustic bridge, the remnants of a forgotten route. The creek below bubbled and sang with raucous joy, a heartening contrast to the dread wrapping around him. Before he could think, he sprinted straight toward it, his feet pounding against the wooden planks, splinters biting into his soles. He glanced back, catching a glimpse of a shadow emerging through the branches, the unmistakable silhouette of Ray. "Charlie!" Ray's shout rang through the night. "You can run, but you'll never outrun your past." But Charlie had made his choice. He didn't look back this time as he reached the edge of the bridge and leaped off, arms outstretched toward the midnight sky. He crashed into the icy embrace of the creek, the rush of water enveloping him whole, submerging his fears. As he surfaced, gasping for breath, something inside him flickered. He was free. Farther away from Ray and the torment that had chained him to his past. He was not just an intern anymore. He was a survivor, unshackled, ready to carve his own path. As he paddled to the bank, the distant thunder of Ray's laughter began to fade, the warmth of dawn beginning to creep into existence. Charlie knew it wasn't over. Ray would always be there, lurking in the shadows like a dark cloud. But now, Charlie was armed with knowledge. He understood the game, and he would play it on his own terms from now on. Emerging from the creek, soaked but determined, Charlie set foot upon solid ground, a heartbeat echoing in his mind. "No more running," he whispered to himself. He felt the pull of a world beyond the chaos, the promise of a future free from fear. It was time for Charlie to reclaim his story, and to ensure that Ray Stanton would never write the ending. With that thought solidifying his resolve like an anchor, he turned to face the daylight slowly peeking over the horizon. The hunt may have ended, but the journey just began. Now, this is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could change everything. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and wild theories about what just happened. And don't wait even one more second, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans, unite. Your support means everything.